This is going to be the story of how your mom and I met. Now, we need to go back to June of 2011. We were both going to be freshmen at Taylor University that fall, and they had set up a Facebook page for incoming freshmen. And we were all being friendly, sending each other friend requests and messages, and hey, looking forward to see yous. And I found this girl who's going to live in my dorm who was wearing a Packers jersey in her profile picture. So I sent her a message going, looking forward to having another Packers fan around, maybe we should watch a game together or something terribly unoriginal like that. And she messaged back and said, yeah, me too. And my brother's going to be also in the dorm, and I messaged back and she messaged back, and we ended up chatting for most of that night and the next night and the night after that, and then most of the summer. So move-in weekend rolls around and we don't see each other. And we don't see each other the next day. And eventually we finally bump into each other and she goes, Micah Hancock. And I go, Joelle Rochelle. She looks at me and says, that's not how you say my name. Not even close. Officially, the first thing I've ever said to your mom is mispronouncing her name. Her name is Reiskytl. Reiskytl. But I challenge you to pronounce that if you've only ever read it. But we recover and we decide to start dating fairly soon. I was more on board with this than your mom was. She wasn't a big fan of being the first freshman couple to start a relationship, but we did. And I remember fairly early on walking out by the softball fields at Taylor and thinking to myself, this is going to be the girl that I marry. And if I truly believe that, I'm not going to stress over this relationship. I had ended some previous relationships. I remember all those relationships, I felt so concerned about blowing it or messing it up or saying the wrong thing or not being myself. And I just had this complete, I don't know if peace is the right word. I was just comfortable with your mom. I was like, I'm gonna be myself. And it was great. We went on, this was I think our first date together. It was some sort of painting project. Look at all that, there's room for Jesus in between us there. We went I think our second date was to the Indianapolis Art Museum, which I believe we've now run by more times than we went on dates there. Proof that your father should never wear a bandana and does not look cool in one. That phase lasted about 3/4 of that football game. It was a great relationship. We were each other, had fun, and it was wonderful. But we were young. We were 18 or 19 and still lots of life and college ahead of us. And that started to change for me. It was one fall break. We went up to your grandpa and grandma Reiskytl's for fall break. And I was staying in the upstairs gray bedroom with the east-facing window. And I took a nap because that's what you do when you're in college. You take lots of naps. And I woke up from this nap. And I'm not sure why I thought this, but I thought I'm going to go to the window and look out and see Joelle in the yard. And I did. I looked out the window and she wasn't there. And that was this feeling of expecting to see her and her not being there and thinking, I don't want to experience this ever. And that was when I started to feel like I was ready to start looking at a commitment to marriage. I was 18 or 19. I think I was 19. Let's just say 19. That sounds less creepy. But that following summer, we were at Pine Lake, and I remember us talking about being engaged for about 6.5 minutes. And that was it. The next time we talked about engagement, I had a ring, and your mom said yes. That's a longer story for a different day that involves me, almost losing the ring and proposing from inside a fire pit, and your mom not saying yes right away. Oh boy. But she did, and we had a long engagement because she had to finish school and I had a job out of state. But on June 20th of 2015, we were married. And you'll see a lot of love stories in your life, either in movies and books. I hope you get to have one of your own. But I think a mistake that we make is we think the love story reaches its climax at the wedding. Like, this is what everything has been building towards, is they found each other, they've made the commitment, and the rest is riding off into the sunset. And that's not true. I would say when you're trying to figure out if you're with the right person, you want to find a person who you want to make stories with. What is the story after the wedding going to be? Now, your mom and I aren't perfect, and we aren't as romantic as some. Like, you're not going to find us dancing in the kitchen unless we're dancing to disco music with you, and we don't make out in the back of movie theaters anymore. But we are really good at being a part of each other's story. And we've been married for almost 7 years now, and we've had some epic stories and some ordinary stories and some silly stories and some stories that just hurt like hell. But through it all, we were together through them. I don't want to make relationships sound easy, but I also think sometimes we can overcomplicate them. For me, I know your mom is the person that I want to be a part of every story of my life. And I hope someday you can have that same thing. I love you, buddy. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Also, your mom wants me to clarify that we have never made out in a movie theater, but if you ever go to Taylor, I can show you where the good spots are.